Hi children, how are you? I hope you all are doing fine. So welcome to my third session on control and coordination. So let us see what we studied in the first session. We studied about chemical coordination in plants, tropism and its different types. We also studied about phytohormones and its types. In the second session we learnt about endocrine glands, the different types of endocrine glands and its importance and functions. In the next session we will be studying about parts of the brain, structure and functions of the brain, and also very important, how to draw the brain. You will learn that skill also. In the fifth session we will be studying about parts of the spinal cord, structure and functions of the spinal cord, and also most important of all, revision. So in this session what we will be studying is basically about nervous system and its different types. We will also study about the structure and functions of a neuron. We will also study the structure and functions of different parts of central nervous system. So welcome to this session. In this session here we will be studying how the control and coordination takes place. See, whenever you respond, you have to respond using nervous system, endocrine glands, and also the sense organs. All these are controlled and coordinated, and then you exhibit something. So today we will study about the nervous system. In our previous session we studied about endocrine glands. So let us see what is this nervous system. You can see the nervous system here. So here the nervous system will send impulses in the form of electrical signals, and then you will get the messages. So that is basically about nervous system. So what is this nervous system made up of, and what does it do? See, here you can see the brain and the spinal cord will send the messages to all parts of the body. It functions, it controls the liver, stomach, heart, kidney, digestive system, respiratory system, everything it controls and coordinates. Not only that, it controls lot of your voluntary activities. For example, that person likes the apple and he eats it. Here you can see an examination taking place, an invigilator is there and the students are writing. All these are voluntary activities which you do. Here he is plugging the switch, you are watching the TV, you are watching the Prime Minister, whereas you are sneezing, shivering, sweating, all these are involuntary activities. You can see heart rate, respiration taking place. Can you stop it simply like that? No, it goes on like that. And the heartbeat, it continuously keeps on going on throughout your lifetime. So all these are done by nervous system only. Not only that, it helps you to adjust to the environment or to the situation. For example, you can see here a person is touching an hot object. As soon as he touches the hot object, the message goes to your brain and finally he withdraws his hand immediately. So all these are controlled by nervous system. Then don't you think it is our duty to know what this nervous system is? Of course we have to know what this nervous system is. So you understood the nervous system does so many things. So let us see what all it can do, okay, and let us know what it is made up of, etc. Now here you can see a neuron. So this is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. So the entire nervous system is made up of this neuron. It is also called as a nerve cell. So a neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. The entire nervous system, for example the brain, spinal cord, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, everything is made up of neuron. So this is the core component of the nervous system. So this is the basic unit of the nervous system. So not only that, it sends messages in the form of electrical impulses. So a neuron is electrically excitable cells that function to process and transmit information. It will process as well as sends or transmits information. Children, I want you to make note of it. In simple terms, we can know all these things. You can write down that one. So, please write down. So, now let us see what is this neuron or a nerve cell is made up of. See, the topmost portion that you see, you call it as the central body or the neural body. It is also called as cyton. So, what is this cyton having? It is having a nucleus and also the cytoplasm or the neuroplasm surrounding it. And the cyton which is present, it is having so many branches. You call those branches as dendrites. Okay? So, the cyton has so many branches, you call them as dendrite. Only one branch has come down and it is very elongated and it is very lengthy. You call that elongated lengthy tubular structure as axon. The axon is surrounded by a sheet of cells, you call them as myelin cells, and that membrane you call as myelinated sheath. Below that you find nerve endings. So, you can write down this one. A neuron is made up of cell body or cyton, then axon, then dendrites, and finally nerve endings. Next, let us see how does a electrical signal pass through a neuron. Here I have shown you a neuron. See, the signal starts from the tip, that is the dendrite, and then it ends at nerve ending. Let us see how the signal moves. See, that is the path. I hope you can see that. So, like this, let us see by showing you the path. I want you to see how the path moves. See here. So, first it starts with the dendrite, then it comes to the neural body or the central body or the cyton, then it moves through axon, and finally it ends in nerve endings. So, the signal or the impulse moves like this. This is the path of the signal or the movement. You call it as electrical impulse. Next, see, here you can see the video. So, it is starting with the dendrite, then goes to the cyton, then to the axon, and finally the nerve endings. Now, let us imagine there are two neurons. Now, nervous system means there are several neurons in it. They are each connected with each other. Let us see how the connection is present. Now, here shown you a diagram of a neuron. You know how the impulse moves in that. Next to that, I have kept another neuron here in the pictorial representation, but you can see that there is a small gap between the two neurons. So, how does the impulse move between them? Let us imagine two copper wires are present. If two copper wires are present with a gap, will the current pass through the gap? No, but here it passes. How? Let us see. This small gap, you call it as synapse. Okay, I will explain about it. So, first the neural path you saw, next through that small gap called synapse, that is the ending of one neuron, nerve ending of one neuron, and the beginning of another dendrite of another neuron, that small gap you call it as synapse. There are some chemical substances which help it to transmit it. Isn't it great? So, like that it passes to this, to the next neuron through the synapse. If there is another neuron, how does it move? Same. There also you find one synapse present. Now, look at that place. There those chemical substances present in the synapse will help it for the transport of this electrical impulse. You can see here. See, this is how it moves. So, this is the path of the neural electrical impulses. I hope you understood how it moves, and I hope you understood what a synapse is. Now, here there is a neuron and there is another neuron. In the synapse there will be a chemical transmission, it helps in jumping of the impulses. Now sometimes what happens, in the place of neuron, there will always not be neurons present. Sometimes the messages have to be sent to the muscle cells. It may be skeletal cells or something like that. That time what happens, the synapse will work in the same way. So a neuron connected to a muscle cell, here I have shown some muscles here. So there also synapse will work out. So this is how it happens. So that is called as synapse. So children, write down the point of contact between the terminal branches of axon of one neuron with the dendrite of another neuron is called synapse. I hope you wrote down that one. It is a very simple definition and it is important for the exam also. Please note down. Now let us see how to draw a neuron. Please note that one. Okay children, I hope you understood how to draw the diagram of neuron. The labelings were in Kannada. I hope you can easily manage it to write in English also. And the last one is nerve endings. Now, you understood about the neurons. Now let us study about the nervous system. This nervous system is basically of three types. One is the central nervous system or the CNS. We will go in detail about each one of them. Next is the peripheral nervous system and finally the autonomous nervous system. Central nervous system is made up of two parts, that is the brain and the spinal cord. And the brain is further divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. So today we will be basically concentrating on central nervous system, to some extent about peripheral nervous system, then we will be concentrating on brain. In the brain we will be studying about forebrain and midbrain. So these are the different parts we will be studying today in this session. Okay, so what is this nervous system? Write down, nervous system consists of brain, spinal cord and a huge network of nerves. Next, nervous system is made up of three types. One is the central nervous system, CNS, peripheral nervous system, PNS, autonomous nervous system, ANS. Now let us see what are the functions of nervous system. You already saw in the videos, that is, it receives information from the environment. It receives information from various body parts, that is the stimuli and the response. You have seen, he touches the hot object, he immediately withdraws his hand, all those are present. Then to act accordingly through muscles and glands. Even the muscles and endocrine system, which we already learnt in the previous class, all these help in the functioning of nervous system. Just not that, it is just the tip of an iceberg. We will study in detail about everything. Okay, here you find the brain and you find the spinal cord. So, let us study about these today. So, central nervous system is mainly made up of the brain and the spinal cord. You saw that. Now, what is this peripheral nervous system? Peripheral nervous system is nothing but the brain has so many nerves emerging from it, you call it as cranial nerves. Those come under peripheral nervous system, and the spinal nerves which arise from the spinal cord, you call them as spinal nerves, they also come under peripheral nervous system. Peripheral means surrounding. So, away from the brain, away from the spinal cord, they are moving to different parts of the body, you call it as peripheral nervous system. Now, autonomous system, nervous system ANS, it has a special type of nerves, a pair of nerves, you call them as sympathetic nerves and parasympathetic nerves. Sympathetic nerve, whatever it does, the quite opposite is done by parasympathetic nerves. For example, if sympathetic nerve allows the dilation of the pupil, parasympathetic nerve allows the constriction of the pupil of the eye. It is something like this. One is opening the door, another one is closing the door. So, opposite functions are done by this autonomous nervous system. Now, let us come to central nervous system. The central nervous system is comprising of brain and spinal cord. So, the brain is mainly protected by the skull. Next, so you understood brain is protected by the skull. Next, who will protect the spinal cord? You can easily observe in this picture that the spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. You can see that elongated structure, there the vertebral column is protecting the spinal cord. So, both are well protected. Now, let us come to this brain. Inside the skull, between the skull and the brain, there are three membranes. Let me repeat. In between the skull and the brain, there are three membranes, you call them as meninges. These meninges will provide nutrition to the brain, to some extent protection also. Then comes the brain. Directly brain will not be present, something else is present there. Let us see what it is. Before that, make note of meninges. So, brain and spinal cord are surrounded by three membranes. These together you call them as meninges. Sometimes, so in between the skull and surrounding the membranes, surrounding the brain as well as the spinal cord, there is a fluid constantly moving. This fluid moves from the brain to the spinal cord and spinal cord to the brain. So, this fluid you call it as cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Cerebro means brain, spinal means spinal cord, it is a fluid. So, it is called CSF. This fluid moves throughout, mainly helping in transportation. It also helps in providing the nutrition, and the most important thing, it acts as shock absorber. What is this shock absorber? When you are moving on a two-wheeler, when you are sitting and there is a hump ahead, what happens when you go through the hump? You will have a spring action. That is because below the seat there are springs. If the spring was not there, what would have happened? You would have fallen duck, duck, duck like that, and there would be damage for your spinal cord, your pelvic girdle, etc., etc. To avoid that, there is a spring. You call it a shock absorber. Similarly, if there is a head injury directly affecting the brain is avoided with the help of this CSF. Let us watch this video. Now, here a person is taking a liquid or water, in that he is keeping an egg, closing it and shaking it vigorously. By shaking it vigorously, even after shaking, the egg is not breaking. That is because here the water is acting as a shock absorber. Similarly, surrounding the brain you find cerebrospinal fluid, it will act as shock absorber to the brain. Brain is enclosed in cranium, it is protected by cerebrospinal fluid, it acts as shock absorber. Next, this central nervous system, it is made up of forebrain. Today we will be studying about forebrain, in that we will be studying about cerebrum and diencephalon. So, let us see where are these present. If you look at this picture, the frontal portion, the above portion you call it as the forebrain and the lower portion is called the hindbrain, and the middle portion, inside portion you call it as the midbrain. You understood where the midbrain is. These are the positions. Now, let us come to forebrain. The forebrain starts from this region, it comes back side like this, and that entire thing is called as cerebrum. The cerebrum, below the cerebrum you find the diencephalon. Okay. Now, the largest part of the brain is this cerebrum. It comprises nearly 80% of the brain. You can see here I have made an augmented reality. So, this is the biggest part and it is nearly 80% of the brain. Okay, write down, major part of forebrain is cerebrum, it is the largest part of the brain. Next, what does this cerebrum do? It is the think tank of the brain. It helps in thinking, it helps in doing abstract thinking. For example, A plus B, you cannot see, just you can see an alphabet A and B whole square. Whereas if you say 2 apples plus 2 bananas, you can think about something, but here this helps in abstract thinking, memory, imagination, creativity, identifying, observing, creation, discovery, inventions, all these are done by the brain. Not only that, it receives information from the sense organs, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue and also the skin. So, it receives the information from the sense organs and then sends it to the brain. So, the brain cells stores this and then uses it whenever it is necessary and you call it as memory. So, those are the functions of the brain. Not only that, it helps in your intellectual activity. This person is using the Rubik's cube and making it into same color and he is blindfolded. Added to that, he is covered using another paper and he is doing that. You can see that. Within seconds he is able to do that. That is intellectual capacity. And this brain is also capable of controlling your feelings like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety. All these feelings are mainly controlled by the brain. Next, imagination. See the kid imagining. She is just walking but she is imagining. She is just jumping but imagination. It is like she is in the sky, she is through the universe, etc. Next, the common sense. You should have common sense. Now, if it is a COVID situation, how should we be? If there are many people, should we be in that situation? We have touched so many objects, should we sanitize? All these are nothing but common sense. So, that is also done by the cerebrum. Then willpower. How should I study even in this COVID situation? Yes, I am capable of doing the exams, I am capable of scoring more in these exams. All these are nothing but the willpower again to the cerebrum. So, write down the functions of the cerebrum. It is the thinking part of the brain, controls the voluntary actions. Next, it stores information like memory. It is the center associated with hunger. It receives sensory impulses from various parts and integrates it. So, all these are functions of the cerebrum. Next we will come to diencephalon. So, diencephalon is the small area that is covered with cerebrum. It has two parts, one is the thalamus, uppermost region is thalamus, and below that you find hypothalamus. So, this diencephalon, you can see where it is positioned. So, this thalamus is present, and below that you find hypothalamus, as the name itself suggests, hypo means below. So, what does this hypothalamus control? It controls the body temperature, it controls the balance of water, osmoregulation, how much of water should be present in the body. Then it will see whether you have to be thirsty or not, that will also is controlled. It also controls your sweating, it controls hunger, all those. So, this thalamus, which is above hypothalamus, it receives nerve impulses from many sense organs and sends to the cortex region. Write down the functions of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus regulates body temperature, water balance, appetite and sleep. I have given a small question, so food for your thought. Here an elderly person with the help of a hammer is slightly hit by a doctor. Nothing is happening. He is trying with another leg. You can see that, you can see a sudden jump in the lower portion of the leg. Why is it? We will discuss about it in the last session. Same thing you can observe in this video. Next, I want you to do some homework. List out the functions of nervous system, draw the diagram of neuron and label its parts, explain the mechanism of working in neuron. Next, list out the functions of cerebrum, what is a synapse, list out the functions of hypothalamus. Let us have some quiz time. I would like you to answer this. Name the part of the brain that controls hunger and sleep. Options are forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain and spinal cord. So, answer is forebrain. Next question. A person may have met with an accident and had a head injury. Due to that, he is not able to stand straight or walk properly. Name the part of the brain that is affected. Cerebrum, cerebellum, pons, medulla oblongata. So, the correct answer is cerebellum. Next, name the part of the brain that controls thinking and memory. Thinking and memory. Cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, spinal cord. Answer is cerebrum. So, children, I hope you have understood all the concepts well. I want you to study very well. I am very thankful for all the people who have helped me to do this lesson to you very well. Thank you one and all. Bye bye.